Hello, readers, and happy Friday. So I don't want anyone to panic about the CER. I've had students in the past really dread this, but I'm going to walk you through it and give you an example of how it works and why it's so powerful. It's a really great tool to use as a reader to check for understanding, but also as a writer when I'm asking you to write in response to your reading. So again, the C stands for claim, the E stands for evidence, and the R is your reasoning or your logic behind your answer. So to give you an example, I'm going to go back to the Amigo brothers so that I'm not giving you an answer to a question that I'm asking you to answer. So let's say my CER was to respond to this prompt, which is, why did Felix and Antonio walk out of the ring at the end of the story? So my claim was where I answer this question. And so my statement or my belief is that Felix, and Antonio walk out of the ring at the end of the story because they respect each other as boxers and friends. And my evidence is actually going to be a piece of text evidence that I'm going to pull from the story. So this is where I pull up the actual text and I look back at the story to prove that this is why they walked out. So yes, they were really close friends, but it was more than just friendship. They battled each other almost to the death, if you remember the narrator describing everything. As the people in the audience were like shocked at how gruesome they were fighting each other. And so I found a spot in the text, which I think I just lost. But I'm going to find it again because this is what you're going to have to do. It takes time to look through and find good text evidence. Let's see. And here's this one right here. Okay. Here's one that uses the word respect. But let's see if I can find a better one. Let's see. Antonio, blah, blah, blah. Neither fighter was giving an inch. Here we go. Okay. So I think this one describes how they're both being respectful of each other as fighters because they're both giving this fight their best, right? So my text evidence would be that the story during the fight, the author writes, and then I'm going to paste my text evidence here. Hopefully it's going to let me. Yes, here we go. But I have to, I'll change the formatting just a little bit. And then I use my quotes to show that that's not my words. I'm using the quotes because that's a line I lifted directly from the story. And then in my reasoning, I'm going to explain how that proves my answer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about their friendship. These characters were not just friends, but became respectful of each other. Oops, I spelled respectful wrong. Of each other as fighters by the end of the story. And so if I were to put all of these three sentences together, I'd have a really short paragraph that explains the answer in a really coherent and logical way. So it shows the person who you're answering the question for that you understood the text. Felix and Antonio walk out of the ring at the end of the story because they respect each other as boxers and as friends, right? We already knew, I'm going to add this to my reasoning. We already knew they were best friends and essentially brothers. But now they learned that they respected each other as boxers as well. Okay, so again, just rereading it, you can add more than one sentence for your reasoning. So again, let me just recap it. Felix and Antonio walk out of the ring at the end of the story because they respect each other as boxers and friends. My evidence is during the fight scene, I'm going to add that here. During the fight scene of the story, the author writes, rights to the body, lefts to the head, neither fighter was giving an inch. And that's showing us that they were doing their hardest, they were doing their best, despite the fact that they were friends, because they agreed before the match that they were going to leave that out of this fight. They were just going to be fighters. And so I explain that part in my reasoning. These characters were not just friends, but became respectful of each other as fighters by the end of the story. We already know they were best friends and essentially brothers, but now they learn that they respect each other as boxers as well. Okay, so that's pretty much how a CER works. If you click on the next screen or the next button at the bottom of your screen, you will have your own question that I'm prompting you to answer, which is about thank you, ma'am, which is a story I love and we're going to work with more next week. But take your time to look through the text to find a piece of text evidence and make sure that your reasoning is not just a restatement of your answer. It's more of an explanation of how your evidence supports your initial claim. And as always, if you are having trouble or need some help, log into Teams or send me a message and I will be more than happy to help you.